Kevin De Bruyne has one of the most emotional and tragic life stories of any football player. His journey is one of hardship, heartbreak, and relentless determination. From the quiet, insecure boy who felt abandoned to the man who became a footballing icon, his story is the perfect example of resilience. And knowing what he overcame to get here, his success is all the more extraordinary. This is the story of Kevin De Bruyne, the boy who never gave up, the man who overcame it all. It all began in a small garden in Belgium. A young Kevin, full of potential but somewhat of a misfit, was told he could only play with his weaker foot after breaking pots over and over. It seemed harsh at the time, but as we now know, it was the beginning of something special. At just 8 years old, Kevin wasn't just playing football for fun, he was already making moves, seeking the next step in his career. Without a second thought, he told his coach that the training sessions were better at Gent, and that was it. He made the move to one of Belgium's top clubs. But things weren't easy. Though Kevin wasn't a troublemaker, his quiet nature and strong character began to alienate him from his teammates and coaches. At Gent, his honesty and drive were misunderstood. His desire to be great was often seen as an inconvenience. One moment stood out though, when his frustration with a coach who constantly criticized him boiled over. Refusing to let go of the goalpost until he was understood, he stayed there long into the night. The coach, later admitting Kevin's unique nature, would say, "He's stubborn like a mule, but now I see that's what made him great." However, despite these challenges, Kevin's talent didn't go unnoticed. Eventually, he was offered the chance to move across the country to join Genk's youth system. But with this new opportunity came a new heartbreak. In his first year, Kevin lived in a boarding home. It wasn't easy. He was a stranger in a strange place, awkward and uncomfortable. But just as he began to settle in, Genk made a decision that would shape Kevin's future. They placed him in a foster family. At first, it seemed like a solution to his loneliness, and Kevin began to open up. But after a year, his world came crashing down. When Kevin arrived home for summer break, he was hit with the devastating news. His foster family no longer wanted him. The reason? It's about who you are, they said. Kevin was too quiet, too different. It wasn't just rejection, it was abandonment from people he had come to call family. The pain was sharp and devastating, and as he ran into his backyard to kick a ball against the fence for hours, the words echoed in his mind, "It's about who you are. It's about who you are." In that moment of rejection, something ignited in Kevin. The pain, the hurt, the loneliness, all combined into a fierce determination. He promised himself, "In 2 months, I'll be in the first team. No matter what, I will not be a failure." At just 16 years old, Kevin was already training with the senior team, but it wasn't until a game against a lower league team that everything changed. After starting the game on the bench, Kevin came on in the second half and made his statement clear. 5 goals in a single half. His performance was so extraordinary that Genk had no choice but to move him to the first team. Kevin had done more than prove himself. He had made a statement. He would never be overlooked again. When Genk offered to bring back his foster family, hoping to mend things, Kevin had already moved on. "You threw me in the trash, and now that I'm doing good, you want me back." He didn't look back. Kevin had learned something invaluable. Sometimes rejection fuels greatness. Kevin's rise to prominence was nothing short of meteoric. In his first season with the senior team, he barely played, but by his second season, he was an integral part of the squad. By the third, Kevin De Bruyne was unstoppable. He scored 5 goals and assisted another 16, leading Genk to their 3rd ever league title. But his performances weren't just impressive in Belgium. On the international stage, Kevin debuted for the Belgian national team at 19. He quickly impressed, with veteran defender Vincent Kompany remarking, "After our first training session together, we all knew this kid is the best player in the squad." Fun fact, Kevin's mother was born in Burundi, so technically he could have played for the African nation instead of Belgium. But he chose the Red Devils, and it paid off. Even as success came, Kevin's time at Genk wasn't without its challenges. At just 19, he confronted the team's star player for not working hard enough in training, and when the team underperformed, Kevin publicly called out his teammates, saying, "I'm ashamed of you. If you don't want to play, leave." His honesty was brutal, but it was part of what made him so exceptional. By 2012, Kevin's career took another leap forward when Chelsea signed him. They saw in him the future of the club, the perfect replacement for Frank Lampard, but his journey at Stamford Bridge would be short-lived. In what should have been a season of triumph, Kevin faced the ultimate betrayal. His girlfriend cheated on him with his childhood friend and Belgian teammate, Thibaut Courtois. The betrayal was public and painful. His girlfriend shamelessly confirmed the affair to the press, claiming that Courtois had given her everything De Bruyne hadn't. Kevin's form dipped, and he found himself struggling to focus on his football. In a cruel twist, Jose Mourinho, the manager at Chelsea, didn't give him the chances he needed, and De Bruyne was sold after only half a season. But even in the face of this personal and professional setback, Kevin didn't back down. He moved to Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga, where his rage and determination were channeled into greatness. In Germany, De Bruyne found his true form. He scored 16 goals and provided 27 assists in a record-breaking season. He led Wolfsburg to a second-place finish in the Bundesliga and even took home the league's Player of the Year award. This season was a redemption story, not just for his career, but for his heart. Kevin's personal life began to change when he met the woman who would become his wife. Through her, he learned to open up, shedding the insecurities that had once held him back. He wasn't just a footballer anymore. He was a man who had learned to love, to trust, and to believe in himself. But life isn't without its trials, and just when it seemed like Kevin's world had finally found stability, tragedy struck again. When his wife had a scare during pregnancy, Kevin found himself helpless in a hospital corridor, realizing that football was no longer the most important thing in his life. Fortunately, everything turned out okay, but that moment changed him. He no longer played for revenge or to silence the critics. He played because he loved the game and for the people he cared about. When Kevin arrived at Manchester City for a record fee, he was still considered a Chelsea reject. But his new manager, Pep Guardiola, saw something others didn't. He pulled Kevin aside and said, "Kevin, you can be a top 5 player in the world. Top 5. Easily." That was all Kevin needed. No longer driven by proving others wrong, he played to prove Pep right. And slowly, every doubt about his worth was erased. In his second season with Guardiola, Kevin De Bruyne led City to 100 points, setting a Premier League record, and with 16 assists, he was named the best player in the league. He had arrived. Through injuries, betrayal, heartbreak, and loss, Kevin De Bruyne has proven that greatness isn't defined by what you're given. It's defined by what you overcome. The boy who was abandoned, the man who was doubted, is now one of the greatest midfielders the world has ever seen. He is not just a footballer, he is a symbol of resilience, a living testament to the power of believing in yourself no matter the odds. Kevin De Bruyne, from heartbreak to glory, from rejection to legend.